But anyway, I'm here today because I'm a good boy now. I like to look on myself as a good boy now. And, well, everybody's telling me what a good bloke I am. Like, hey, the last week, everybody, he's a good bloke, this fella. I, I was looking behind me for a start. I thought they were talking to somebody else, you know. I learnt the hard way. I learnt the hard way. No matter what's said and what's done, I've done lots of things in my life. Things that I've been proud of, things that I haven't been very proud of, you know. Then then I was locked up. Got 9 months for being on the street after 5 o'clock. And then the young copper came and let me go after 9 months. I took out flop along the road and it rained for a week. And it's something that you won't believe. And up near Jerilderie, I'm booting it along the road there, you know. And a bloke come out of the bush. I was been waiting for you. Oh, all right. Never queried him. Went in. 8 or 9 guns there. Fires going, cooking fires there. I had a good feed there. I slept, had a night's sleep. Next morning the bloke said to me, come on, took me out on the road, give me a few bob, let me go. I get to Jerilderie. I ran into a couple of curries there. And I said, we haven't seen you out, I told him. And I said, no, I don't think I'd have made it, only I got to stop this bloke. Where? He said, no one is there. I said, they're there, all right. He said, no, there used to be. Used to be a big camp there. There's no one there now. And I said, well, I've got a gut full of fresh air because they fed me. I remember when I was with Jimmy Sharman, the boxing tent, and that's why I got no teeth. A man by the name of Jack Hassan, one of the greatest fighters in the world. He knocked all those teeth out. What he didn't knock out, he kicked out up at Toowoomba. And he was with the tents too. But that's part of living. That was the sort of work that we had to take on. You know, there was no Centrelink or anything like that. And we had to be fed. And I was working with one boxing promoter by the name of Harry Jones. He said, one day he said, you fellas want meat to eat? Yep. There's a rifle out there, there's kangaroos running through the bush. He said, go out, get yourself a kangaroo. But then, hard days, but good days. And what I'd done, lots of things. I was with a young man one time. He come out from England, and he was, I can't think of his name, but I know his name was Bobby, and he belonged to one of those orphanages, English orphanages, and he could hardly see. He had glasses that were that thick, and he and I went with in Victoria, and we decided we were going to take off. So we got to Brisbane, we'd done our money in Brisbane, and we walked to Rockhampton, almost to Rockhampton, to a place called Marmore, just out of Rockhampton. And we walked every step of the way. Bobby Farmer, that was his name. And we got a job on the railway. I went down And something said, I got up there and I said to Bob, I don't know what you're going to do, but I'm going to go down to the police station. I'm going to hand myself in. I'm going to bag myself. Then I'd brag and say, yes. So we had no food, no nothing. And he said, so I went down. He said, come on then. So we go down, go to the police station, and there was a Sergeant Taylor. He said, tough. He said, well, that's what I told him. He said, you want me to bag you? I said, yeah. He said, what about if I get you a job? I said, well, yep, that'd do me. He said, all right. He took us down and got us a job on the railway. But he took us home. And his wife fed us. And we slept on the his veranda that night. Next morning we were going out on the job. We had to catch the train to go out to a little place called Kaladi. And this was it. Anyway, going out towards Quilpie. And then he took us down to the store, and gave us an order, paid for it. We went out. Bob only stayed a couple of weeks, but I stayed there for about 3 months, I suppose. And I came back, and I never moved. I never came to town. So then I thought, well, I'll go to town. But when I go to town, I'll collect my pay, have my money. I'm going to go and pay this policeman back. So I went down. I went back to Charleville, and I got there. Went down to his house. I went to the police station first, and they looked at, didn't say anything. So I went to his house, and his wife was there, and I said, I come to pay him back. She said, no. She said, he's not around anymore. She said he was on his way to Cunnamulla, and he picked up 2 Aboriginal boys on the way, and they cut his throat. They cut his throat, she said. And I thought, well, a man like that, that's... And they killed him. They done him in. And I've never ever forgot that man. Never ever. He was so, I suppose you dealt with other people the same way. And I've been in towns where they said, right, move on. Police will walk you to the edge of town. Say, right, there's work up the road, go and find it for you fellas. And, well, you got to get out. They didn't want you there. I was working down the Mole River, just out of Tenterfield. I was working on tobacco. And tobacco was just a 24/7 job. And the only time you give up is when it rains. Anyway, it rained, and I came home from work, and I'm looking for my wife. Couldn't find, wasn't she? Under the bed. I thought she was mucking around. I said, come on, get out of there. And she said, no. She said, can't you hear him over there? And I said, hear what? She said, Yalala, the deathbird. I said, what? She said, at that time I was very dubious about some of these things, about animals bringing messages and all that, And she said, he's here, I can hear him, he's singing, he's calling me. She said, he's here for me. And I said, what am I looking for? She said, he's a little brown tit bird. And you'll find him over there in one of them hollow fence posts. She said, go over and rouse on him. She said, if he goes away, I'm all right. But she said, I'm not. But I can hear him. So I got a stick away, banging on the fence. Didn't. Anyway, I got home, went back, had supper or dinner that night, went to bed, and a knock came at the window. So I went over, it It was from the lady from the property next door. And she said, can I talk to you outside, Mr. Marne? I said, yes. Emma started screaming. That's right. And I said, yes. Anyway, I go outside. And she said, the police just rang to say that your little boy got drowned in the pool at Walgett today. And she knew. Believe it or not, true. And I was always a little bit dubious. I've never been dubious since, you know. And Aboriginal stuff, sometimes you don't believe in it. You know, but it's there. Like the stone I told you about. And it's these things. And I've had people, some people use the willy wagtail. If he points his tail at you, if he dances around. And I say, if he points his tail at you, look out. He's pointing trouble. Because they say he's a trouble bird. He'd go to you and say, that woman over there talking about you. And then he'd go over to you and he'd say, that bloke's over there talking about you. And when you start arguing, that's when he starts dancing. Point his tail, I say to him. And possums, you see him running in the day. The owl, buck, he comes. Did you see him howl in the day? There's trouble. People don't believe these things. I believe in these things because I've seen it, you know. I don't know much either. I thought I did. In the Northern Territory I was. And me and Uncle Wes, and I'm talking to the elders, and one of the elders, and I got my mouth shut because I made a fool. But I thought stupid. I didn't. Anyway, this young kid, about 10, when we finished, you know, and he said, do you like bananas? I said, yeah. He said, I know where there are, but a lot of bananas. Bush bananas. I said, all right. You want to come with me and we'll go and get some? Yeah, all right. A little way, he said. Little way must have been 20 bloody miles, you know. Anyway, we go out and we have a few fog and we're coming back and it was stinking hot. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to make it. If I don't get a drink, you know, never mind. And then I suddenly stopped. He's about 10-year-old. He said, you want a drink of water? I said, yeah. He just went over to this, broke this root off the tree. Come back, give it to me. Ice cold water. See? Survival. Trial and error. And I could have kissed him. But, you know, but I wasn't going to let him know I didn't know, you know. I used to work out in the bush. I was fencing. And I used to had my own little hut out in the bush. It was about 15, 20 miles from the homestead. And the boss used to bring me out books of a night, books for me to read. I read his whole library. And he'd seen them, and then I think the good book, the Bible, was one of them. When you got nothing else to read, well, I'll get into that, you know, because there's a lot of stories in there. There's a lot of stories. And it says, I told you today, didn't I? That God made man in the image of himself. He must have been an ugly bastard. I blame him for everything that's going on wrong in the earth today. Because if he'd let us into them gardens, we would have eaten the snake before it came to eat. It was a snake, wasn't it? It tempted us. We would have eaten that. Wouldn't have got to it. I'll tell you something man. Come down from Victoria River Downs. You read the Victoria River Downs? Lord Resty's place. Come down with a mob of cattle. and we hit Quilpie. You know where Quilpie is? That's west of Charleville. And that's the cattle place. That's where they bring the cattle and they shove them on the train, send them away to the neckery. Right. I come down, I've been out for months on this road. Right. What do? I'm going to go to the pub, I'm going to get drunk. This is the truth. But first of all, I go and buy myself. All my clothes were falling to pieces, falling off me. No boots was all done. I go and buy myself a new wardrobe. So I go down and I buy all these new clothes, get them right, get dressed, go back to the pub. Righto, I'm shouting for the pub. Next morning I wake up in the cattle pen, in a pair of underpants. No money, no boots, no nothing. I thought, well, God, that's the thing. All that work, time, and it went in one night. I don't know what it was, but Quilpie was always said to be the roughest town in Australia. People say, but I learned. Leave me here by the river, let me stay and dream a while. Let me sit here by the river and watch my dreams go floating by. Tonight I am so lonely, tonight I'm feeling blue. It's the first time that I met you, that I come here without you. It was here that we first wandered, when we vowed we'd never part, hand in hand together. It was here I won your heart, and we vowed to be together forever and a day. But time waits for no one, and God took you away. The times we spent together, they are times of happiness, times when we were happy. Now there's just regret. But now when I am lonely, and I'm all alone it seems, I can always have company here at my river of dreams. That's my missus, my wife. But that's just a song. It's a song.